how do you have emotional patience to deal with fasting when you're making good progress, but the end still seems a little bit distant in the future? Well, the runner's paradox is going to help you with this, as well as some other important tips for continuing along with your fast while having the ability to be patient during this time period. I mentioned the runner's paradox first because this is an answer to Marilyn Valenzuela. She's one of our first subscribers here to this YouTube channel, and she's on a day 7 of a water fast, fasting along with us here. And she said, well, how do I have the patience? I'm 7 days out of 21. That's 1/3 of the way there. And she's experiencing the time moving more slowly. She's also experiencing some low energy. So once that energy increases, then the time will go by more quickly. Well, yesterday's video addresses that, so be sure to watch that, the day 16 video. But now on day 17, we'll talk about this mindset for fasting and going the distance. Now, the runner's paradox is, I'm not sure if it's a real thing or not, it's just the way that I've always thought about it, it's what I call it, is I noticed, I used to be a high school wrestler. We won the league championship every year, 23 out of 25 years, from the coach that I studied under, and it was very aggressive, very intense. So in the process of getting in great physical shape, and over the years, running off and on to get back in shape, I've noticed that regardless of whatever level of fitness I had, if I, in my mind, said I'm going to run one lap, 1/4 mile, I would notice that towards the middle of that lap, sometimes it was about halfway through that one lap, or 3/4 of the way. Towards the end, when I saw the end approaching, when I started focusing on it, I began to feel tired. I would get out of breath, and I would just want it to end. And it seemed like that last quarter of the lap was a lot harder and longer than the first 3/4 that were easy. And I've done this where I did that one day and I was discouraged, like, wow, I'm getting tired after one lap. So the next day I said, I'm going to put my mind to it and run 5 miles. And it wasn't until the 4th mile that I got tired, or maybe somewhere towards the end of the 2nd mile at least. And I said, wow, that first lap was a piece of cake. Well, the reason for that is, if you have your mind prepared to do something that's very long, like, if you're going to go walk 1,000 miles, well, you can't get tired on the first lap, right? You're going 1,000 miles. Well, the first 100 miles are going to be easy. So a lot of this is when we start to feel closer to our goal, what we're doing is fixating on the goal. We're starting to imagine quitting. We're imagining the end. And then, our body starts to say, okay, I can start shutting down. I can start giving up mentally because I'm almost there. Now, that can happen when you're 1/3 of the way there and looking at, on day 7, you're starting to see 21 and starting to look forward to that. Well, that becomes problematic. So how do I apply this to fasting and to Qigong? Well, there's a Qigong exercise that I do. This is the standing pose. This is a very popular, regular Qigong exercise. But I challenge myself with this because it's a great exercise. And what we do is we stand there, we get our posture straight, and then we bend our knees down as far as we can comfortably, and we hold this pose. You close your eyes, and you hold that for as long as you can. Now, I've done this for 2 hours, and your mind will play games with you. And it's the same thing with this. If you intend to do it for 5 minutes, that 5 minutes is going to feel like a long time. If you set a timer for 30 minutes, you're going to feel stressed, and it's going to become difficult probably a lot after the 5-minute mark. So how do we apply this to fasting? Well, I gave the 5 tips for the fasting mindset, and that's related to this. So what you do is just imagine, have the thought, okay, so you do have this sort of 21-day goal. That's still there. Put that aside. You're not discounting it or eliminating it, but you're not focused on that. What you're thinking is, well, I am creating a new habit in life. I can do this forever. Just have that mindset. Say, you know what? 21 days is my goal. I think I could push that to 50. Now, I'm not saying you really need to push it to 50, but really have that mindset of, my body is shifting to the point where I never have to eat again. And if you think on day 7 that, wow, I'm going to be okay, I can go even further, day 21 will get there a lot sooner. So just extending your goal or your expectation. It doesn't have to be a real goal. It could just be like, instead of saying, I can't wait to get to day 21 so this can be over, that's a different mindset. But you could say, wow, let's see if I can go past 21 days. Just ask yourself positive questions like, how long could I keep doing this and be okay? Could it last for a lot longer than 21 days? Ask that question instead of looking forward to the end. When you boost your energy, this is going to get a lot easier. Now, another side effect, though, of the lower energy, when your body was looking for things that it could eliminate, shut down certain systems, and you have this temptation to just stop moving. Well, when you actually stop moving, the body says, okay, I don't need that energy to move. I'm going to use it for, breathing, for the automatic stuff, for the organs. The body shuts it down to conserve energy. What happens? You feel tired. Now, being tired, as long as you don't feel bad, if you're just tired and want to sleep, I would say that's okay. But the adaptation is when you wake up and you're awake, get up and move around a little bit. So you do want to push yourself somewhat because your body will reserve the amount of energy that you need to do what you want to do if you start to use it. If you don't use it, you'll lose it. So you can go on a gentle walk, do easy activities, but move. The fast is going to be the hardest if you're just sitting around all day saying, okay, I'm fasting, I'm doing good, I'm fasting, I'm on day 7. Yes, try to pay less attention to what day it is. And if you're just thinking about fasting, that's going to be more challenging because your mind will inevitably go to these things like, well, when will this be over? Because now you've just shrunk your life down to it's only about fasting, and that can get tricky mentally. So like the mind's thinking, am I just going to be not eating and not doing anything forever? You're linking inactivity with fasting. It's producing a negative, a result that you don't want, this low energy kind of bad feeling. So that's why I said distract your mind, have something to take your mind off of fasting. For me, this has been one of the easiest fasts I've ever done because I've had a challenging routine of daily videos, blog posts, setting up social media accounts, starting to make Twitter, tweets on Twitter, doing all that has kept me busy. I had the urge not to do it, but I had the commitment to do it. And now, since I've continued with that commitment, my body has reserved that energy and it's available to me to do those things because I've now created like a new habit in a short amount of time. At least it's the beginning of a habit. So having some sort of activity is good. It should be one that challenges you a little bit. It shouldn't be overwhelming, it shouldn't be exhausting, but something. So you can go out in the garden and water your plants and just do basic stuff. You can go for just a nice little walk. Learn about something you want to learn about. So one good education would be learn more about fasting. There's one of my favorite people on YouTube, you can watch hours and hours and hours and educate yourself, is Lauren Lockwood. And he has the Tanglewood Wellness Center. He's got a ton of great information about fasting, but he's telling lots of stories about people going through the process. So if you have a lot of time, and that's sort of a positive way to think about fasting, where you're not in your own thoughts, you're actually absorbing information based on positive examples of people who have succeeded with this. So that would be a good thing. Or take the time to learn more about Qigong, to read books you want to read. And I found also that creating something is even better than just reading books, watching videos, watching TV. So this would be a great time if you're artistically inclined to work on some paintings, write some poetry, write a song, create something creative, make, design something, whatever you've always wanted to do, just try it. Even if it's a very unprofessional painting, do something where you're creating. You're putting yourself in this different mind. You're activating creative energy instead of just sitting around thinking about fasting, thinking about doing nothing, and being kind of bummed out about that. That's low energy stuff. We want to raise the vibration. So, just being patient isn't necessarily the best answer. Unless you can look at this as, well, I'm giving my body rest. This is what it needs. It's wanting to kind of shut down and relax. I'm just going to go with it because, you know what? The extra sleep is healing me. And if you can accept that, that's okay. You don't have to do anything to distract yourself. But I found that some sort of mental distraction is going to make all the difference. That's why I'm creating these videos as well. So you have a lot of material to go through and educate yourself and hear more examples and more techniques that you can try. So as far as going the distance, keep the runner's paradox in mind and try to think about, just wonder what if? What if I could never eat again? What if, what if in a few days when my energy kicks in and I'm back to normal, like Brian said happened to him around day 10, it shifted where he no longer even felt like he was fasting. That'll happen to you at some point. I just don't know when because everyone's different. We all have a different timeline. Well, once it snaps back to normal where you don't feel any difference between fasting and eating and your energy levels are even higher than when you were eating, then start to think about that. Say, wow, I'm really looking forward to that phase when that kicks in. And you know what? When that kicks in and this is easy, then I might just take this to 50 days. And I'll just share my personal feeling is I already know I'm going beyond 21 days. I'm going to feel it out and do what I feel is good after 21 days. I had the commitment, but another way to do fasting is open-ended. As long as it feels good, why stop? So that 21 days is going to stretch to 30, 40, 50, or who knows? Or it could be 23. On day 23, I might say, you know what? I feel good. I feel like I have a sense of completion. I've learned what I need to learn, and now I can, I can break this fast and in a delicate way and move on from there. This is a great experience. So for me, any day after 21 is a bonus. 21 is my commitment. So I'm leaving it open-ended. I'm not saying that I'm going to do, I'm off the number system. And I found not having that number target in a lot of cases is actually good. Not being obsessed with the day you're on. I'm documenting it day by day because it makes sense to teach this. In the past, I didn't track my daily weight during fast. I didn't think about what day it was on. I sort of, I made a mental note and recorded day 1, and then I just let time pass and let that just be in the future. I didn't even think about when it's going to end. And a lot of these times I didn't even have like 10 days or 15 days or 5 days goal. I just went with it. If I was feeling good, I just kept doing it, right? Why stop? If it's easy and you feel better than when you're eating, why eat something and ruin that, right? So giving yourself more freedom. And if we truly pay attention to our bodies, we can align with that energy better. So I hope that these suggestions, if you actually apply them, contemplate them, go back and watch this video a few times just so you got them all. If it's helpful to you, write them down so that you can remember here. Actually try to do it, and then let me know how it works for you. And if you feel like you need, if there's like one area that wasn't addressed by these suggestions, well then leave a comment below and be as specific as you can about that area, and I will try my best to provide some recommendations that will be helpful to that. As with everyone else, Marilyn is getting the benefit of being, asking these great specific questions about what she's going through. Well, that also applies to you. I would love to hear your journey, your experience, your questions, and your tips. And, I would just love to hear the feedback, and it always feels good when people say, yes, thank you, this has been helpful to me. I love to hear stuff like that. I also love to hear, here's where I'm challenged, and here's where I need some more information, because I'm here to teach this stuff, to share what I've learned, and to learn more in that sharing process through working with you. So we're going to have some more Dantian energy charging techniques coming up in the next few days, also devoting a large portion of the video content to viewers who are experiencing fasting, just to help diagnose and solve some of these fasting symptoms, fasting challenges, and to give a robust mindset and practical ways of dealing with something that's not very well known, but is becoming more well known, and that is the power of fasting. So until the next video, Howla.